With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
You've discovered your link to GoPowercat.com's Powercat Podcast. Now, here's your host, GoPowercat.com publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Let me start this edition of the Sources Podcast with a somewhat shameless plug. I've been lucky enough to co-host a TV show called The Drive, and we're in our 15th year. As my former co-host Tom Keegan said, we're the Gunsmoke of TV sports. I don't know about that, but I know when I signed on to The Drive, it was a much different show than what it is now. We started off doing this through the Lawrence, Kansas cable station. Okay, so they had a local news broadcast and they branched out into this, and I was like the conservative guy on MSNBC or the liberal on Fox. I was the outside guy. I was the K-State guy on what was seen primarily as a KU show at first, and it really kind of grew into more than that. The Drive discusses KU, K-State primarily. Big 12 next, maybe Chiefs, Royals, etc. And originally we had a four-man lineup. There was four of us. There was three analysts and a host, and then eventually it became three. And after 9 years, the cable system at Lawrence was sold, and they were no longer interested in it. We were really fortunate to have WIBW out of Topeka buy the rights to the show, adopt us, and Keegan and I did it together for a few years as a two-man show, and now I do it with Scott Chasen, who runs Fog.net, the KU site on 24/7 Sports. A long way to getting where I'm going, but there's a purpose to this. So the first time I met Buddy Wyatt at a K-State press conference, right not long after he was hired, the last guy hired for this coaching staff under Chris Kleiman. And remember that originally Blake Seiler was the defensive ends coach, and then kind of at the last minute he bolted for West Virginia. He's now at Old Dominion, but they needed a D-ends coach. And Buddy Wyatt is good friends with Van Malone. They had coached at SMU together, and he was now a senior analyst at KU. So Buddy Wyatt came in to coach, and the first time I met Buddy Wyatt, he goes, "Hey, I recognize you. You're the guy from The Drive." Well, it turns out The Drive, being on the cable system in Lawrence, the promo ads were relentless. And so here's my face. I'm as well known and recognized in Lawrence because of this silly show as anywhere else I go. The Drive. It's been a blessing in my life. It's a great experience, but it also kind of opened a door of familiarity between me and Buddy Wyatt. Buddy Wyatt was at Kansas from 2010 and 14, kind of in the heyday of when we were broadcasting the show in Lawrence. Buddy Wyatt's football coaching career is nothing short of incredible. Incredible. Now, first of all, let's put this on the table. Assistant coaches sometimes move a lot. Scotty Hazelton moves a lot. Buddy Wyatt's not as bad as Scotty Hazelton, but he's up there. He really is. This guy played football at TCU. He's a product of Victoria, Texas. And so after playing at TCU, became a grad assistant, and somehow, and honestly I forgot to ask him about this, he goes from grad assistant at TCU to a full-time defensive line coach at Minnesota in 1992. And off goes his career. He's been at Power 5 schools, with one exception being SMU, his entire career. Minnesota, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Colorado, Texas A&M, Alabama, Nebraska, back to Texas A&M, Kansas, SMU, then the bridge year there was a senior analyst at KU, and now he's in his second season at Kansas State. And in an interesting twist, his son just finished up his playing career at Northwestern, and Fred had played high school football in Lawrence, and now Fred is a graduate assistant on the Kansas State staff. So father and son work together. Buddy Wyatt's a hell of a nice guy. He's great to talk to, really easygoing, and he's a highly, highly respected football coach. And as we get into the podcast, you're going to hear him list off some of the players that he's coached. And, folks, it's nowhere short of incredible. It's amazing. Now, here's my discussion with Kansas State defensive ends coach Buddy Wyatt on the GoPowercat.com Powercat Sources Podcast. And now we're joined by Coach Buddy Wyatt. Coach, how are you doing? You doing well?
I'm doing okay. I'm finally, it still stings a little bit, but like I tell the kids, we got to keep moving forward. So
yeah, that sucked. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. The lack of spring football, the lack of some of the summer stuff, it just you can't make it up. It's just lost time.
Yeah, especially we have at some positions we have kids that are playing for the first time. And so sometimes, it takes a little cohesion, which is kind of hard to get in a short period of time. Missing spring ball, having a shortened fall camp, just because of sometimes of numbers and scheduling and all that stuff. It just was. There's been kind of we hadn't been able to get in a good groove. I think we will. I know our kids will continue to work hard and continue to improve, and they're as upset about everything as we are as coaches and as the fans are. So, and it wasn't acceptable, and they know, and they the ones who said it's not acceptable. So.
Well, it's one of those situations where, yeah, you've had practices, but they're not even normal practices. You're missing so many guys just between injury and COVID, but the quarantines just add up. I mean, it's a bunch of factors that it's so out of the norm right now, isn't it?
Yeah. This is going into my 30th year of coaching at this level, and it's definitely one like no other. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and you have done the assistant coach thing pretty well. You've traveled around quite a bit. Tell me about that. I don't want to say vagabond, but it kind of is. You've been so many places, so many prominent schools. What's that experience been like?
I tell you what, I look at it like this. It's been an opportunity for me to get a chance to work with I work with and work for a lot of great people. Get a chance to meet people all across the United States. Now my family is the ones that as you know, the families are the one that it's difficult on, and I'm fortunate enough to have a wonderful wife. Andrea, and she did a good job because as coaches we're not there a lot, so they got to take on a lot of jobs, and so it starts with that. You got to have a good spouse, and she's been wonderful. My two kids have really been have adapted well. I think sometimes moving around, I know it wasn't easy for them, but I think it's helped them. As they've gotten older, and one of them's out of college, and he's actually here working with us here, and my daughter's in college, and so I think it's helped them with relationships, making friends when they, and made them a little tougher. I think, growing up, but it's not easy. Moving. I think we've moved 12 times, 11 times, something like that, and we kind of got it down to an art now. So,
one of your longest days was down the road in Lawrence, and it looks like did Fred get to go all the way through high school there? That's awesome.
He did, and that was a plus. That was a real big plus for him. He got to play all his high school career at Free State, and so and my daughter, her freshman year, she went to Free State, and then we moved to Dallas, and then she finished up her last 3 years at J.J. Pearson, Dallas.
And then he went on and played at Northwestern. I had a buddy call me up once and said, hey, I need advice. A friend of mine has a son who's a fullback, and here's his scholarship offers. And they were all, Power 5, but no like Alabama or, nothing like that. and one of them was Northwestern. And I'm like, hold on, he can get a free education at Northwestern to play football? You go to Northwestern. I mean, if he's not an NFL guy, which actually I think he ended up playing a little in the league, but if he's not an NFL guy, go get that Northwestern degree, and that's exactly what your son did.
Yeah, he did. He got undergrad and he got a master's, and so he's, he did well for himself. They actually won a lot of ball games when he was there, and I think he went to 4 bowl games or something like that. So he had a good experience. This is a great school, and obviously the education is like no other. So that was big for him.
And what a great use of that education to end up as a grad assistant at Kansas State.
I was as shocked as you. I was like, I was kind of stunned at first, but then somebody explained to me, well, it's in his blood. I mean, he's been around it since he could walk and talk. He was at practices, at camps, and everything else. And so, what else did you expect? You got a point there.
Yeah, that's very true. What's it been like so far? I know it's only been a year and, not even a half, and a lot of it's spent with this pandemic nonsense. It's like you guys finally got a chance to settle in, and then the pandemic hit.
Yeah, it definitely things were moving along pretty good, and then all of a sudden March came and things kind of slowed down. But we really enjoy Manhattan, my wife and I, and we thought we were empty nesters, but all of a sudden Fred decides to take a job here, so he's down now back living with us. So, but it's been good. It's been good to have the family together. I missed our players during that time. I really did. Didn't realize how much I enjoyed being around them until they were not here, and so that was a tough part about it. And then just seeing them, they had no idea what was going to happen, and the concern when you did your Zoom meetings with them and when you talked to them on the phone. You could just hear the concern in their voice, and that was tough. That was tough because they've worked so hard to put themselves in position to play this game at this level, and they didn't know if they were going to be able to play or not. So those things were difficult.
Yeah, when you arrived, and I think I asked you about this, and you inherited Wyatt Hubert, you had to be a pretty happy coach. That's a nice thing to inherit from previous staff. How good is he, and how good can he be?
Wyatt is, first of all, I really appreciate Coach Snyder and his staff recruiting Wyatt because, he has what I call the total package. He's a talented player. He has a lot of physical gifts that God has blessed him with. But he's also an extremely hard-working young man. He works hard in the weight room. He works hard on the practice field. And the other thing that I've found, the guys that I've coached have been really good, and a lot of them have been good enough to go play in NFL. They just have a thirst for the knowledge of the game, and he has that thirst. I mean, if you will look at he takes notes in every meeting. I don't care if it's a team meeting. I don't care if it's a unit meeting. I don't care if it's a position meeting. I don't care what the meeting is. He is in there taking notes. I looked at his notebook once. I had to get him a new notebook because he had filled up all the pages in his book. And so that's what I mean about the total package. It's not just he's talented. He's got a great work ethic, but man, he's got a thirst for knowledge of the game. He wants to be the best. And so to me, when you have that combination, you have a chance to be really, really good.
How did he play in that opener?
If you would ask him, he would say he played not up to his standard, and probably, I thought he played well. He wasn't as productive as he normally is. So, he was coming off of that ankle. He didn't practice as much, like he didn't have spring practice. And then and then he missed a lot of fall camp because he was still coming off that injury. And so, he was a little rusty and he had a solid game, but he didn't play nowhere close to his capability.
Yeah, it kind of looked like on that last drive, everyone was on their heels, Wyatt included. I mean, it just was hard to get anything going. How did Bronson Massey play? I didn't go back and really look at his film.
Boom was, I thought he played same. It wasn't as productive as we need those guys to be, especially guys like Wyatt and Bronson, who have played a lot of football here at K-State. We're counting on them to be guys that make plays, that make a difference in the ball game. And we didn't make any of those plays in this ball game. But I'm not saying he played bad. He just, in our room, in that defensive end room, we have high expectations. And we'll tell you to a man that we didn't live up to those expectations in last week's game.
Well, all fall, we've been hearing the name Khalid Duke over and over and over, and then he wasn't able to play on Saturday. Did you feel like that kid had that great Christmas toy and then you couldn't play with it? Because, from everything, it sounds like he's been an impact kind of guy in practice, and then he couldn't go.
Yeah, Khalid is really probably made the biggest strides from last year to this year as far as a total football player. He was kind of a kid that we recruited as a linebacker, and we needed he showed us that he had some pass rush ability, and so we moved him to defensive end and used him in some of our third down packages. And so, so that's what he did mostly for us a year ago. So coming back in this fall camp, man, I was like, is this the same Khalid Duke? He's put on about 20 pounds and he's more explosive, and his knowledge of the game is just grown. And he spent a lot of time with Wyatt. So I mean, Wyatt really had kind of had taken him under his wing, and he's kind of spending a lot of time, and they have a really mutual respect for one another. And so I think that helped him a lot. And then he has a desire to be really good as well. He watches probably more different NFL guys than anybody. He wants to pattern. He don't care who it is. He's going to watch Khalil Mack. He's going to watch Javion Clowney. He's going to watch J.J. Watt. He just watches everybody. He comes in, Coach, I watched this film on J.J. Watt. He was doing this. He was doing that. I'm like, that's good, man. That's good. Keep it up. I hope you J.J. Watt as well.
Yeah, I hope he gets that big. That'd be nice, big and fast. What's it say about a kid that to go through this without the off-season program to come in with 20 good pounds? I could come back after a pandemic with 20 pounds. It wouldn't be the right pounds, but I could do it. What's it say about him that he came back in such good shape?
Well, I really think it goes back to the fact that he wants to be good. He wants to be better than Wyatt. He wants to be really good. And so he worked extremely hard when he was back home. He did have a person, I don't even know the person's name, that he worked with a little bit that kept him going workout wise. I'm fortunate that I have guys in my room that want to be really good, that have that drive to be the best, to play that position.
And Spencer Tressel saw some action. What do you think of Spencer in that opener?
I tell you what, Spencer to me is another young man. Spencer's he is the fastest defensive end that I have. And people really don't know that. Spencer is now, I think he has matured, and he understands how to work. He understands our defensive scheme a lot better than he did a year ago or have ever since we've been here. So I was pleased with Spencer. I think Spencer got 18 to 20 snaps in that game, and he did okay. You know, he didn't. You know, like the rest of them, we all feel that we can play better. But I mean, he's another young guy. You know, he's not Spencer is relatively a sophomore kid, and so you know, he's going to continue to improve as well.
Let's take a little break here and come back on the other side. Continue our discussion with Buddy Wyatt, Kansas State's defensive ends coach.
The Powercat Podcast will be right back.
The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/247 and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, or visit oasas.ny.gov/gambling. Standard text messaging rates apply. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited.
Is your January looking dry? Get some lotion. Get a humidifier. And better yet, get Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can compare prices across local stores to get the best price on a huge selection of drinks perfect for dry January. Every single time. Non-alcoholic wines? Have a look. Ready-made mocktails? Grab a straw and order them up. Beer without the alcohol? Yep, take your pick. You can find all of them here, in the app, in that phone that's in your hand. Could it be any simpler? Nope, not a chance. So shop for great deals on all your dry January beverages or other drinks and get them delivered to your door or blanket fort, maybe. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations. And don't forget to lotion up your elbows. They're looking a little dry.
We now send it back to the Powercat Podcast.
How has a message of a coach changed here during the pandemic and the season that counts but doesn't count? You know, it's just such a weird thing that the wins and losses count, but your eligibility clock kind of paused. Does your message change at all about how to go about business?
No, it doesn't. And this is really, especially after this past week, our message has even gotten stronger about where we want this program to go. And Coach Kleiman's, you've heard him say, we want to stack good days on top of good days. And that's something that I thought we lost the focus of a little bit, getting ready for Arkansas State. And rightfully so. You had all the things going on with the COVID. You had, guys concerned whether we were going to play or we were not going to play. And so our mindset wasn't great. And I think that our focus got off of the team and what we're trying to accomplish with this team, and got focused on other things. And so we just kind of went back, talked about, all right, we want to prepare daily with a purpose. If we want to get to where we want to go, we want to prepare daily with a purpose. And that's stacking one good day on top of another good day. Got to go back to paying attention to the details. We got to master the details. So we're working, and that message is not going to change. It hadn't changed from Coach Kleiman. It won't change from the assistant coaches as well, because obviously that's our culture, and that's what we want to build our program around.
Yeah, I was impressed with his message after the game, that at least to the media, that this is a long haul, and this doesn't derail anything. This is just something to overcome, and you move on. Was it good to have an off week or bad to have an off week coming off a game like that?
I think it was probably most of the time you want to get right back into the saddle, but with everything that's going on and with the COVID and everything, I think it was good to have a week off. Just because now, we're getting more guys back and getting them opportunity to train and get ready for the game. Got more time to get ready for the next football game.
It's just Oklahoma. I mean,
it's just Oklahoma.
You just got to go to Norman. That's all.
Yeah. Well, hey, I told the guys, hey, we want to be the best. We got to beat the best. So that's what we are.
Yeah. What's weird about this season is playing that one non-conference game. To me, it almost felt like an NFL preseason game, except it counted. It was just so out of whack. The two teams, weren't really prepared at the same level, I don't think. And it had a feeling like after the loss, well, I mean, really it's about the conference season more than ever this year. Let's still go win a bunch of games in the conference, and people will forget about this game.
Yeah, our goal always is to win the Big 12. And we still got a chance to do that. We still got an opportunity to win the Big 12. So, like we told our guys, okay, our goals are still in front of us. The things we want to accomplish are still in front of us. But they won't be if we let what happened last week affect the way we go about getting ready for this coming up week. So I do think that our kids, we're trying to keep them focused on one day at a time. We wasn't a very good football team on Saturday. We didn't play very well. We didn't coach very well. That was obviously, and so we got to get better. Coaches, players, everybody. So that's our mantra right now. One day at a time. Okay, stack one good day on top of another good day. That's going to be our message. That's been Coach's message ever since he was at North Dakota State, talking to the rest of these coaches that were with him. So that's the way, and I like it. I really do. I like that approach. You can't get worried about what's behind you. You can't start looking about what's in front of you. You can take care about today. That's all you can take care of. So.
I'm struck that, he came in with some of his coaches from North Dakota State, kept Colin Klein, but then put together everything, and you're the last of those additions of the original staff. But it just seemed like everyone kind of just settled in immediately. There was no acclimation period. It seems like he assembled a really cohesive unit.
Yeah, I think Chris has been, he's been around. He's been coaching a long time. He's been on different staffs. He knew what type of person that he wanted to hire, and then what type of coach he wanted to hire. And I think if you look at and I think we've got really good people on this staff. They're good coaches, but they're better people. And I think that's what he put the emphasis on. And when you do that, it's easy to come in the office every day because you got Colin Kahn, who's a good person, who's a good coach, but he's a better person. You got Connor Riley, who is a good coach, but he's a better person. So he put together a staff full of good people. And and that's one thing when I was interviewing with him, one thing he said he wanted to hire coaches that were going to coach their guys hard, but love them up. And that's what he wanted in his coaches. So.
And you've been at this a while. Kids have changed. Some coaches like to say they don't change. They have changed. And I think some of the things, the more aggressive styles, just don't work with this group very often.
Yeah, it's different. And it's just like anything else. If you're not growing, then you're going to fall behind. And if you think you can coach these kids like you were coached, it's not like that anymore. Society is not like that anymore. The game of football isn't like that anymore, and so you have to be able to adapt and adjust and grow as a person and as a coach. And it's all about the kids. It's all about the kids. That's why I coach, and that's why I coach climbing coaches. And that's why all these coaches on the staff is because of the kids. And just like our own kids, sometimes they can be frustrating. Sometimes you can get disappointed at them. But in the long run, I feel that is the reason I'm here is to help these kids grow, grow as human beings, not only on the field, but also off the field. And to me, that's what's important. And to Coach Kleiman, that's what's important.
You mentioned earlier you've coached some great players. When I ask you who the greatest players are that you've been lucky enough to work with, who jumps out at you?
I've coached guys like Von Miller, Ndamukong Suh, Michael Bennett.
It's ridiculous.
I've coached some really good players, but probably the guy that stands out to me is a young man by the name of Wallace Gilberry. Played for me at Alabama. He's from Cincinnati, Kansas City. Played in the league 7-8 years. And Wallace was not the biggest. He was not the fastest. He was kind of an in-between defensive lineman, D-end or D-tackle. But that kid was so special as far as just he had a learning disability that he didn't let keep him back. I remember I would write, he would come in, I would write whatever the practice, whatever we were going over in practice that day on my board in my meeting room. He would come in early and write it down, and then we'd have our position meeting. He'd write it down again because he knew that's what he needed to do for him so he could learn it and so he wouldn't go out there and make mistakes. And that kid had no business playing NFL that long. But because of his work ethic and how he went about him, and he could talk, man, he could talk to the side of a wall. He just could talk to anybody. Him and a guy when I was at Texas A&M the first time, because I had Ronald Edwards who played with the Chiefs forever. I had Ty Warren, Rocky Bernard, all those guys. Ty Warren still today is a good friend of mine. And so those two guys probably, just because, not necessarily because of the player that they were, even though Ty was first round draft choice, it was because of the type of people they were. And
you've been places, excluding Manhattan, Kansas, because I will always think this place. What places really kind of stood out to you? You kind of thought, this is a neat town.
You know what? I've enjoyed all the places that I've been for different reasons. Now, my wife, Stillwater, Oklahoma, she don't like Stillwater, Oklahoma. That's the only place she said we can't go back to. But other than that, I've enjoyed it. And to me, it probably was College Station, just because I'm from Texas originally, and I have family that was around, and so I probably saw more of my family. When we were at College Station at Texas A&M, so that was good. So they got to enjoy a part of my career with me, and so So that was unique. That was a good experience. But like I said, I've enjoyed Tuscaloosa. I've enjoyed Evanston. I've enjoyed all of them. But we really like Manhattan because it's about our speed. It's my speed. I don't need the, when I was younger, I probably could have a little faster lane. Right now, I'm good with where I am. I like it. I like it laid back.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. It's like it's okay for me. Everything I need is right here. And this can be a good place to recruit to, and I don't think it's always sold properly that it's a place where it's an active college town, but you got to work to get in trouble in Manhattan, Kansas. You got to go out of your way to get in trouble in Manhattan, Kansas. And so I would think a lot of parents are like, yeah, that's where I want to send my kid.
Yeah, I really do. I think that, I've coached in big cities. I've coached in small towns. I've coached, in college towns. College kids are going to be college kids. They're going to have fun. I don't care where. They're going to find a way to have fun. That's just part of it. And so, I do think the one thing that's really unique about is that I think that all the fans and all the people of Manhattan and the alumni, I think they really love this university. That's what really I've kind of grown. Some places I've been, they really love the football team. They really love the basketball team. But I don't care what sport's going on. I think the people really love Kansas State. Just no matter what is happening there, you could be playing ping pong, I think, and they'll come and support Kansas State. That's the big difference. That's what I've noticed about Kansas State.
Yeah, I mean, they show up for baseball, and, brand new women's soccer program sets an attendance record for the conference. I mean, it's like it's amazing how people show up.
Yeah.
What was that like on Saturday with 11,000 people instead of 50, what you saw last year? It had to be so strange.
Well, I tell you what, the initial, before the game, the warm-ups, and then when you run out, that was different. But when we got into the game as coaches, you're working, trying to put out fires and trying to get your guys in the right positions. And so it was a lot of times when you coach, you don't even notice the crowd, other than when something happens, you got your back turned and you hear the crowd roar and you got to jump up and see what happened. But you could still tell when something happened. But, really as a coach, it wasn't, we were working, we really didn't. And once we got into the ball game, it was work as usual for us.
Yeah. What can this team still accomplish this season? How good can this team be?
I think that depends on how we attack every day. If we continue to attack every day like we've been attacking this week, then I think we could be pretty good. I really do. I think we can be pretty good. But if we don't, if we have a good day and then we have a bad day and then we got to go back, if we have one of those, then we're going to be very average. Okay. But I do think if we continue to attack every day, we got a chance to still have a chance to be pretty good, even after the setback.
Okay. When we first met and you arrived, you recognized me because of the drive, because everyone in Lawrence knows who I am because they may not have watched the show, but they ran so many freaking ads for the drive. Everyone knew who I was. I walk into Lawrence, it's like, they know me better here. Did you ever actually watch the drive?
You know what? I have watched the drive. I haven't. It's not. I don't watch it. I didn't consistently, but I have watched the drive. And because a lot of times, I don't get to watch a lot of television, because we're always grinding during the season. But I did watch it during the basketball. I watched it more probably during the basketball time, and so I did do that. Now you still have. When you on there with a KU guy, didn't y'all go?
Yeah, I mean we're out of Topeka now on WIW 13, and Scott Chasen, who runs the KU 24/7 sports site, is my sidekick now because Tom Keegan moved on to Boston and unfortunately was laid off with this pandemic. So.
Keegan left. right. Keegan let us, right?
Keegan's the best. He's the best. And what I liked about doing a show with him was I wasn't the ugliest guy on the set. So
that's a good one. I like it.
Yeah, Chasen's better looking than I am. So he's also half my age, and I'm bitter about it. Coach, I appreciate it very much. The best of luck in a week on Saturday when you get down to Oklahoma. It'll be interesting environment going on the road now without a crowd, and I think you'll notice it a little bit better then.
Yeah, probably will. Hey, I appreciate you.
I hope you enjoyed our discussion with Buddy Wyatt. I know I enjoyed talking to him. It's kind of fun to get an opportunity. This was recorded over Zoom, as you could probably tell from his audio. It's always a lot of fun to have a face-to-face conversation with these guys. And in this pandemic world, that is not easily accomplished. A salute to the Kansas State Sports Information Department, Media Relations, or whatever you call yourselves now, for helping us set these up. We'll be back next week after what we hope is a game at Oklahoma with another edition of the Sources Podcast.
Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
It's the UEFA Champions League on Paramount Plus. Europe's top club soccer tournament. Champions versus champions. The best teams facing off in the knockout rounds. Magnificent! And it all takes place
while you're filling out financial reports at work, in the middle of your day, in the middle of your week. So use that second screen. Call in sick. Do whatever you got to do to tune in Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Nobody watches the UEFA Champions League like us. Knockout rounds begin February 13th on CBS and stream live on Paramount Plus.